Hello, my name is Jamonte Lee, and today we're going to be going over my second hack of KaiOptics 2. So first I'm showing you here is the actual scan. It's the Nmap scan showing the open ports and the services that are available on those ports. Here I'm running an OWASP Zap scan. I usually prefer Burp Suite myself, but OWASP Zap is actually a very, very good program um, and allows you to scan an IP address, web IP address. It'll find directories. It'll find many other things that you're looking for all in one package. You'll notice here that it does show a robots.txt file, but I was not able to find it. So I'm not sure if that was there or if that's a false positive or what that is. Here I'm running Nikto. I have to watch this one. I usually say Nikito, but I'm running Nikto here. And on this is where it shows that the trace method is being used, the headers that are being used, and things like that. I actually think that Zap is a little bit better. It gives you a lot more to go with, a lot more to work with in the long run. Actually, Nessus I think is even better than that, uh, but yeah, I think Burp and Zap are actually going to be way better than Nikto. But Nikto is something that you can run from the command line, so it's not an application that's taking up a lot of memory space on your computer. This is Nessus. This is the first part here where I actually created a search or a scan. I'm sorry, for my IP address or for the IP address, the target IP address that I was going for. And this is showing the scan actually in the process of running. This shows after the scan has run, shows that I've got 19 vulnerabilities here, a possible remediation, and then it shows you the strength of the vulnerabilities that it was able to find. So I had two that were very critical, 27 that were high, 22 that were kind of medium, five low, and then 37 which are informational. That's what that blue stands for. Um, I don't remember seeing. There are this many vulnerabilities, but most of these vulnerabilities kind of fall under one particular vulnerability. PHP being one of those. You'll see that here. There was a lot of PHP stuff here, so when you would click on it, it would show you about a bunch of other vulnerabilities that fall under that PHP I guess group. And then you'll see other vulnerabilities here, like there's a trace and track header vulnerability that we found earlier with Zap and with Nikto. And then you have your browsable web directories, things like that. So there's other vulnerabilities that are here, and Nessus kind of lays all of that out for you, gives you a very good idea of what a good attack vector would be. So my flaw hypothesis at this point is I'm thinking ports 80, 443, and 22 are going to be my critical attack vectors. This is where I'm more than likely going to gain a foothold into the system. And then I have high attack vectors, which would be 3306, which I believe is MySQL or MySQL. Um, that's going to be a 50-50 shot as to whether that's going to work or not. I would have to do some research and find a viable exploit, but I would call that a high attack vector, but not necessarily. It's not necessarily guaranteeing that I'm going to be able to get a foothold into the system. And then I have my lower unknown attack vectors, and that's 631, 691, and 111. I don't know anything about these ports or the programs that are actually running on them, or the services, I should say, that are running on them. I would have to do a lot more research and a lot of digging. It would possibly take more knowledge than what I already have in order to probably exploit those. Not saying that they can't be exploited. I'm just saying I don't think I have the skills to do that just yet, but I will. Um, as far as the programs that I would use or the applications that I would use, um, so far we use Nikto, we use OWASP Zap, and we use Nessus. But I would also add in there SQL Map and XSS Hunter. Uh, and using these all together gives you an all around. You're scanning the entire system, not with just Nmap, but you're scanning the entire system specifically for specific vulnerabilities. You're more than likely to find something within these five applications or these five programs. Um, you're, you're you're more than likely going to find something that will give you a foothold into the system, and so that's kind of why I put these on here. These all together, this is what I would use on top of Nmap uh, to do a full scan of an entire system. From the vulnerabilities that we did find, and from the ones that you saw listed there with Nessus, I would. These are the attack vectors that I would try straight right off the back. So I did try to find a server side injection. I failed to find an exploit that was known to work. So that was a bit of an issue there. I decided to stop chasing it because it was starting to waste my time a bit. So then I came back and looked for an XSS, which is of there is an XSS on the web page. However, if it doesn't reach the DOM, which I didn't actually test to see if it did, but if it doesn't reach the DOM, it's kind of a vulnerability that's not really of any value, not to an attacker, anyways. Unless he wants to deface the page, but other than that, if it doesn't reach the DOM, I don't see it as anything of any value. Um, I did see several remote command injections or executions that did pop up in Nessus. And then I also ran search exploit against the Apache web server, the Apache web server that is running on this on Kyoptrix 2. I did not get any of the exploits that I found to work. They all kind of came back with some kind of error message that was being blocked off. So it's possible that Kyoptrix 2 is actually blocking those. Um, it's showing that it's still vulnerable to them, but it might actually be blocking them. Or I just couldn't execute those exploits properly. But I found about three, and I didn't get them to go. And then I found an SQLI just looking around on the web page. I found that, and that worked. So that's how I kind of got my foothold into the system. So showing you that, I'll show you how I did it here. I started off with a normal test, put that in both the username and the password, and I was taken to a page that allows me to ping any machine that's on the network. So of course I tried to ping uh, the the home. I tried to ping the home IP address, and I was able to get an actual ping back. So I decided to try and append on an actual command here. So try to close off that command and start another command with who am I, and I was able to actually get back an answer that I am Apache. So I'm not only just getting not only am I getting a response back from the pings, but I got a response back showing that I'm Apache. So I tried several other things, messing around here, like trying to find the Etsy password, which I did. I found that file, and this is kind of useless without the shadow file, which I was not able to get because Apache is not root. It doesn't have any root access. So I was not able to actually get the shadow file. So this is kind of useless. So I decided to see if I could get a reverse shell going in. I love getting reverse shells, so that's always going to be something I try first. So I tried getting a reverse shell. I found a script. Uh, there's a there's a tool called Shell of Things. Yeah, I think it's called Shell of Things, and it shows you a bunch of different shells that you could get, or shell scripts that you can get with different scripting languages. So I tried that, and I was able to get a reverse shell just using Netcat as my callback. Still Apache, but now I can actually look at some of the folders and things like that that are on there. So at this point, now how do I get privilege escalation? Now, what I would normally do is I would probably install LinPs at this point into the temporary folder and then run that onto the on the system. I did try instead to look at different processes and see if I could get in. So I tried like the sudo dash L to see if I could get in. That wanted a password, so that didn't work. I tried to look at the cron, but look at the cron. I guess that's a service, but there was no weird services running on there or anything like that. So that was a bust. So then I decided to go back since I got a SQL injection here. I decided to go back and look at some of the tables. That turned out to be a long, long rabbit hole that I'm not going to go into right now. But basically, I found several user tables. They had encrypted or hashed out passwords, but the passwords were all the same, which I think is like Hiroshima or something like that, and none of them work in anything. So it was a that was a rabbit hole that just got me nowhere. I got frustrated, and so I ended up looking up an actual privilege escalation attack that I could use here, and I found one. It's basically this script here, 9542, which is done in C, the C language. So basically, I installed that on here. I then, well, I don't think it shows on here. Uh, yeah, so we got it on here. Oh, yeah, here we go. And then I compiled it here, GCC, compiled it into a file called exploit, and then I ran that file, and I was able to get root access from that. Um, so that gave me root access, and so we'll just kind of move on from there. This is kind of a map of what I was able to find before I actually started exploiting. Um, so I was able to find all of these. These are basically the ports that I was able to find, and I found a website that was vulnerable to SQL injection and XSS, and probably several other things. Actually, I might actually go back and try to see if I can find another way in. I definitely want to try to get in through SSH next time as well. These are some of the vulnerabilities found. I only list 10 on here of some of the vulnerabilities found and what they're dangerous for. And I'll let you read here. But clickjacking was definitely one of them. Information disclosure uh, was one that kept popping up. Uh, Unsupported versions of PHP, older versions of PHP, which were vulnerable to an unset flaw. The web server transmits clear text credentials, password auto completion. That's not necessarily a bad thing unless somebody already has access to the actual computer. SSI injection, like I said, I tried to look for an attack for that. I wasn't really able to find one, but that doesn't mean it's not there. I just wasn't able to find a pre-made attack. As I get better, I'll probably be able to do something like that on my own. Trace and track methods were allowed. Browsable directories as well. So here we're going to define a CSRF attack, and this is basically an attack where the attacker is able to forge a request at a legitimate request, but they need to be able to log in as somebody who has a login or legitimate access to the website. So they're able to send a request because the website doesn't check to see where that request is actually coming from, and by doing that, they're able to send a request, and as long as the user or the victim is logged into the website, all of it will be processed and information can be sent back to the attacker. Then there's the XSS attack. And like I said earlier, this is an attack where you can inject malicious executable scripts into the underlying code of the web application. This is usually done with JavaScript, although I think you can get XSS in some other languages as well. However, you usually need to combine this attack with another attack. Like I said, unless you can really access the DOM where you'll be able to pull cookie information and actually be able to kind of log in or mimic the user or the victim. And it even shows here the visitor session cookies are sent to the perpetrator. Unless you're able to get some information like that or able to get the backend server information, an XSS attack is virtually useless. I mean, there are other XSS attacks uh, that you can get or vulnerabilities that won't allow you to get to the cookies, but will allow you to maybe forge the web page. So as long as as long as you can get the user to click on a web link, um, then the information will come back to you. This is how you can also set up remote keyloggers and things like that. But all of that depends on you getting the user to actually click on something. Whereas this would allow you to be able to mimic the user without necessarily their participation. Now, as far as vulnerability disclosure and the legal ramifications of that, uh, right here I have the VDP, which is given by the Department of Justice, and it shows what you're allowed to do in order to disclose a vulnerability that is found within a federal system. Um, Now, as far as the legal connotations that go with that, I think that if you're going to disclose a vulnerability that affects somebody, you should have permission to be scanning their systems in the first place. So the only way you're really going to know if a vulnerability affects a particular company or anything like that is to either actively do research and see attackers attackers using it in the wild, or to be scanning somebody's system. And quite frankly, if you don't have the permissions to scan their system, I think you've already broken the law right then and there. However, if the company is willing to hear you out, and you're willing to show them the vulnerabilities and show them how to fix it before you disclose it, I think that's perfectly okay as well. I personally would not scan a system unless I have permission to do so. Um, Looking up one of the vulnerabilities that I was able to find, clickjacking. What I'm looking at here is how it started or how it came to be. So tracing it back to its roots. Well, first of all, clickjacking is basically when the X-frame options response header is not set, and it allows you to be able to force somebody to click on something that they did not necessarily want to click on. So this is a good attack to link on with another attack. It came to be in 2008 when two security professionals found that Adobe Flash Player was able to be clickjacked, and they were able to. This allowed the attacker to be able to gain access to the computer without the user's knowledge, because they didn't have any idea that they clicked on a link that they couldn't see. What I've seen in the wild for clickjacking is the link will be made to be so light that the user doesn't see it, so that when they do click on it by accident, and they have no idea they clicked on it, and it gives the attacker access to the computer. The word clickjacking was created by combining the words click and hijack, which is where you get clickjacking from. These are the resources and that gave me the information that I was able to find in my attack here today. But thank you for giving me the opportunity here to show you the vulnerabilities of Chi Optics 2.